Imagine this: a devastating hurricane, like Hurricane Milton, rapidly approaching, threatening to leave chaos and destruction in its wake. But what if this isn't just another natural disaster? What if events like these are warnings, signs described in the book of Revelation for the last days? Prophets spoke of natural catastrophes, of trumpets and horsemen heralding the beginning of the end. And now, with so many signs intensifying around us, it's hard to shake the feeling that something bigger is on the horizon. For many, the looming approach of Hurricane Milton isn't just a weather alert. It's a call to reflect on our lives and the foundations we've built. What were these ancient prophecies trying to tell us? Could these events be reminders to prepare ourselves, not just with physical supplies but by strengthening our spiritual foundations? With tragedies and signs ever present, the time to seek answers feels like it's running short. This goes beyond belief. It's about how we face an increasingly unpredictable world and what we're willing to do to find peace and security in uncertain times. By exploring the prophecies in the book of Revelation and the imminence of Hurricane Milton, you'll discover how these ancient texts might contain not only predictions, but guidance for navigating the storms that lie ahead. Hurricane Milton swept through Florida with a force that rattled not only buildings but hearts, leaving many questioning if such events signal something beyond just natural causes. This disaster, they say, is a reflection of the times we live in, stirring up echoes of ancient texts that speak of natural calamities as signs of the end days. The hurricane's path wasn't just across cities, it cut through the collective consciousness, reminding people of the prophecies in the book of Revelation, urging them to take notice and prepare in ways they may have overlooked before. With every gust and flood, Hurricane Milton seemed to almost mirror the warnings that Jesus himself shared in passages from the Bible. According to Matthew, signs of destruction would come as a precursor, leaving many wondering, are we on the edge of the last days? It's a heavy question, but one that's impossible to ignore. Consider how people scramble to stock up on essentials before a storm: water, food, even generators. What if we thought of spiritual preparation in the same way? Is it time to evaluate the things we've neglected on a deeper level, just as we would before a forecasted storm? For those who turn to faith for comfort, Hurricane Milton might feel like a modern-day messenger, echoing ancient forewarnings. And it's interesting, isn't it? We've got experts studying climate change, geological shifts, and extreme weather patterns, but the idea of these events as spiritual markers still resonates. It's like the earth itself is calling out, aligning with passages from the Bible, asking humanity to wake up and consider what's truly important. Those who see these disasters as part of a divine plan find themselves looking inward, preparing in ways beyond just physical safety. Even for skeptics, it's hard to overlook how natural events like these shake us, forcing moments of reflection. Perhaps, just as the storm shakes homes, it's meant to shake our spirits awake. It's a reminder that life is fragile, unpredictable, and, yes, fleeting. What if we took a lesson from this, just as people board up windows and brace for impact? Are we preparing our inner lives with the same dedication? We may not have the answers, but the question itself is one that Hurricane Milton leaves hovering, much like a brewing storm on the horizon. Take a moment and let us know in the comments. Do you believe these events are signs of the last days, or just coincidences? We'd love to hear your thoughts. In the Bible, Jesus spoke of troubling signs that would mark the beginning of sorrows, a foreshadowing of calamities yet to come. He warned of wars, famines, earthquakes, and even natural disasters, cautioning that these signs would grow as a reminder of things beyond our control. It's compelling to think of Hurricane Milton in this light, almost like a nudge to pay attention. Imagine seeing these warnings as we do alerts on our phones. Each disaster is a notification urging people to reflect, to question the paths we've chosen, and to be vigilant in preparing both body and soul. What's fascinating is how relevant his words are today. While ancient prophecies might seem distant, events like Hurricane Milton bring them to the forefront, drawing a direct line from Scripture to present reality. In Matthew 24 and Luke 21, Jesus spoke of times when fear would grow as disasters multiplied. His words paint a vivid picture, describing a world in turmoil, yet offering a call for resilience. Those passages aren't just cryptic symbols. They're relatable instructions, almost like a manual, guiding believers on how to navigate the uncertainties of modern life. These warnings were not meant to instill fear, but to encourage preparation. Just as people put up sandbags and prepare supplies during hurricane season, Jesus urged spiritual preparedness, a readiness that extends beyond the physical. Imagine it like a checklist. Stock up on faith, anchor in hope, and secure your purpose. We live in a time when such an approach feels not only necessary, but urgent. Like packing essentials for a storm, there's an invitation here to secure what matters most in the face of life's uncertainties. It's as though each disaster calls for a deeper connection to the teachings of Jesus, who spoke not just of signs, but of survival through faith. Just as homeowners prepare for storms by fortifying their properties, the faithful are encouraged to fortify their spirits. And while we might not always understand why these events happen, the question isn't always why, but rather how we respond. And in each response, there's an invitation to dig deeper into what really sustains us when the world outside grows chaotic. In Revelation, the sound of the 7 trumpets is described as a series of wake-up calls, each trumpet signaling a catastrophe, each event more profound than the last. The imagery is vivid, touching on calamities that affect everything from the earth to the skies. And while Hurricane Milton isn't a trumpet blast from Scripture, its devastation reminds many of the impact these events are meant to signify. It's like getting a taste of the kind of destruction foretold in these passages, each storm acting as a reminder of the frailty of the world around us. These trumpets paint a picture of upheaval, of things we take for granted suddenly shaken. When you think about Hurricane Milton, it's hard not to draw parallels. Just as people were left in shock, so too would the world react to the blasts of these trumpets. Some might see these events as signs of the times, wondering if they're glimpsing the beginning of these end times calamities. Whether or not you believe it, the hurricane can serve as a reminder of how small we are in the grand scheme of things, and the importance of finding something to hold on to, a source of stability amid the chaos. The idea behind the trumpets isn't just to show destruction, it's to emphasize urgency. Revelation doesn't merely describe disasters, it's a call to action, a plea for people to wake up and take stock of where they stand. Hurricanes, floods, fires, these events force us to ask ourselves what we've invested in, what truly matters. The trumpets aren't only about doom, but about the opportunity to prepare, to realign with things of lasting importance. Just as we double-check our emergency supplies, we're called to evaluate our spiritual supplies, the foundations we've laid. Hurricane Milton, like so many events before it, pushes people to consider what they'd rely on when all else fails. And isn't that what these trumpets are doing? They're reminders that eventually the world we see will pass, leaving us to face the things that truly hold weight. It's like being in the eye of a storm, a moment to take inventory, to secure what matters most. And just like a trumpet sounds louder as you draw nearer, these events seem to demand our attention, challenging us to prepare ourselves for whatever may come. The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, war, famine, pestilence, and death, paint a chilling picture of divine judgment, a vision that has captivated and haunted generations. Imagine Hurricane Milton as a modern echo of their impact, bringing to light the very themes of fragility and vulnerability that the horsemen represent. Just as the horsemen ride forth in Revelation, so too does each storm, each disaster, challenging humanity to confront the reality of our limitations. It's not just about physical preparation, it's about asking where we place our trust, our hope, and ultimately, our faith. This imagery of the horseman can be unsettling, yet it's also profoundly thought-provoking. Each horse represents a force that strips away the superficial layers of life, leaving people face to face with their own mortality. When storms like Hurricane Milton hit, they seem to whisper the same message, that life is unpredictable, and that, without solid ground beneath us, we are indeed at the mercy of forces beyond our control. And isn't that the very message of the horsemen? They call for a kind of resilience, not just in material preparation but in spiritual grounding. While the horsemen signify chaos and destruction, they also highlight the importance of self-examination and preparedness. Just as people stock up on emergency supplies before a hurricane, we are encouraged to stock up spiritually, to fortify ourselves with the strength that faith provides. Think of it like an insurance policy. We protect our homes from storms, but what about our hearts? Are we anchored enough to withstand life's tempests, those moments that force us to question everything? The horseman's message isn't just one of fear, but a call to ensure we're equipped to endure. In every disaster, there's a hint of this divine reminder, a nudge toward spiritual self-assessment. The horsemen ride as a testament to the truth that no one is exempt from life's trials. But those who prepare, who strengthen their inner foundations, are less likely to be shaken. Hurricane Milton serves as a visible echo of this call, pushing people to think beyond the present moment. Just like a storm eventually passes, so too will these challenges, leaving behind those who are grounded in something far more enduring. Throughout history, people have viewed natural events not just as random occurrences but as messages, whispers from creation itself, urging us to take notice. Hurricane Milton, in its fury, almost feels like one of those spiritual messages, a reminder of life's unpredictability. Think of Luke 13:1-5, where Jesus speaks of calamities not as punishments, but as invitations to reflect. When something this powerful hits, it's easy to get caught up in the damage. But what if it's also a call to introspection, to ask ourselves if we're prepared, not just physically, but spiritually? Paul's words in Romans suggest that even the earth groans in expectation of redemption, almost like a living being waiting for a change. When storms like Hurricane Milton sweep through, they remind us of this deep, collective longing. It's as if creation itself is calling out, echoing the biblical message that we're part of something much bigger. Natural events push us to stop, to breathe, and to consider our own place in the grand scheme of things. In moments like these, people find a reason to examine their lives, to reconnect with what truly matters. These events, though devastating, can be seen as prompts for renewal. Think of how people often vow to live differently after a close call. It's like surviving a hurricane and then deciding to appreciate each day a bit more, to focus on relationships, or to pursue that neglected dream. Maybe it's about checking our priorities. Do we invest in things that last, like love, community, and faith? In that sense, Hurricane Milton isn't just a storm. It's a wake-up call, nudging people to remember the foundations they can build upon. Natural disasters are unsettling, yet they often bring clarity, stripping away distractions and urging us to consider our spiritual lives. Just as people rebuild homes after a storm, these moments invite us to rebuild spiritually, to strengthen our values and seek deeper connections. It's an invitation to be proactive, to see beyond the immediate crisis and find meaning in the upheaval. Each event, in its way, brings a spiritual message, a reminder that life is precious and that there's always a chance to start anew. In the book of Job, we find one of the Bible's most powerful reflections on the mystery of suffering and the sovereignty of God. When Job questions the hardships he faces, God responds not with explanations but with reminders of his control over creation. Imagine Hurricane Milton as a modern backdrop to this ancient dialogue. Just as Job was reminded of God's hand over the whirlwind, storms like Milton remind people that there are forces beyond human understanding, forces that serve purposes we may not see. It's a humbling thought, challenging us to trust even in what we can't control. Job's story invites us to view natural events with a different lens, not as random or cruel, but as part of a larger design. In moments when disaster strikes, the instinct is often to question why. Yet, God's response to Job wasn't about explaining every detail. It was about recognizing his authority and wisdom, even when circumstances seem chaotic. When a hurricane hits, it's a bit like standing where Job stood, reminded that while we may prepare, there's a limit to what we can control. This doesn't mean resigning to fate, but embracing a deeper trust in the process, no matter how unclear. Through this lens, storms like Hurricane Milton can be seen as an invitation to surrender, to accept that we won't always have all the answers. In Job's case, it was a lesson in faith, in trusting that there's a purpose to each storm, literal or figurative, that comes our way. Picture it as a parent guiding a child through unfamiliar territory, knowing the way even when the child doesn't. In our own lives, this idea can offer comfort, reminding us to focus on what we can do, praying, helping others, strengthening our inner selves, rather than stressing over what we can't change. In every natural event, there's a sense of divine presence, a reminder that we are part of a world intricately connected and governed by a higher hand. Job learned that life's storms aren't meant to break us but to shape us, to strengthen our faith and deepen our character. When faced with events like Hurricane Milton, There's an opportunity to reflect, to lean on faith, and to find peace in knowing that no matter how intense the storm, there is always someone greater in control. In times of disaster, like Hurricane Milton, many seek comfort in the idea of God as a refuge, a safe haven in the chaos. The Psalms paint this beautifully, portraying God as a shelter from the storm, a place where one can find peace despite the turmoil around. Imagine someone sitting in a basement as winds roar outside, feeling grounded by the knowledge that they are not alone. This is the essence of God's promise, offering security not only in physical storms, but in life's emotional and spiritual tempests as well. For those facing fear, finding refuge in God isn't just about asking for protection, it's about anchoring oneself in trust. Hebrews speaks of Jesus as an anchor, holding us steady in the midst of life's gales. Just as a boat relies on its anchor to stay grounded, people turn to faith to remain stable when everything around seems uncertain. The beauty of this promise is that it's available to everyone, whether weathering an actual storm or navigating personal hardships. It's a universal call to lean on something unshakable. This sense of refuge isn't a passive waiting but an active trust. When people prepare for hurricanes by securing their homes and gathering supplies, they're taking proactive steps, much like fortifying one's faith. Just as a storm shelter is prepared ahead of time, spiritual resilience is built by nurturing a close relationship with God. Simple practices, prayer, reading, and connecting with others become our daily reinforcements. These practices are not about preventing life's storms but about ensuring that, when they do come, we have a place to retreat within. In the midst of a disaster, hope shines brightest when anchored in faith. Knowing that there's a source of peace can make all the difference, transforming fear into a quiet strength. And while no one wishes for these storms, they remind us of the solace and support we can find in God. This is the call of faith, to be a beacon, not just for ourselves but for others who might need the reminder. In each trial, we discover that our strength lies not in avoiding hardship, but in knowing where to turn when it strikes. In times of distress, like when Hurricane Milton struck, prayer becomes more than just words. It's a lifeline, a way to find peace amid the storm. Philippians 4 speaks about God's peace that guards hearts and minds, and it's precisely this peace that people turn to when the world feels overwhelming. Imagine someone standing in the aftermath of a storm, feeling the weight of loss, yet finding calm through prayer. It's an inner strength that no material preparation can provide, a reminder that even when life feels out of control, there is a source of calm within reach. Prayer offers more than just comfort, it empowers. Through prayer, people connect with something greater than themselves, finding resilience to face even the darkest situations. Think about those who gather to pray after a disaster. Each prayer is like a brick in a wall of strength, built to withstand the emotional aftermath. It's not about escaping reality, but about gaining perspective and fortitude. Prayer shifts the focus from what we can't control to what we can. Our attitude, our actions, and the way we choose to face each challenge. For those who may feel overwhelmed, prayer serves as a reminder that they're not alone. It's a personal conversation with God, a way to express fears, seek guidance, and find encouragement. Many find that, through prayer, they gain clarity on what steps to take, like where to find shelter or how to help others in need. This connection brings a quiet assurance, transforming prayer into a source of genuine strength. It's a way to feel grounded, much like finding a safe harbor in the middle of a stormy sea. Ultimately, prayer becomes a source of both consolation and action. It's the fuel that drives people to reach out to others, to rebuild, and to offer a helping hand. During disasters, prayer isn't just a private act. It often leads to community, unity, and shared resilience. It inspires people to look beyond their own struggles and to be there for others. And in this shared strength, people find that they're part of something much larger, a community bonded by faith and compassion, ready to face any storm together. In times of crisis, like the devastation left by Hurricane Milton, the role of the church becomes clearer than ever, as a beacon of hope and support for those in need. Just as a lighthouse guides ships through dark waters, the church provides a light for those lost or struggling. Drawing from Matthew 5, where Jesus calls his followers to be the light of the world, the church has a unique mission to bring comfort, aid, and compassion. Imagine the impact of a community center opening its doors to shelter those displaced, providing not only food and supplies, but a safe space and a sense of belonging. This isn't just about offering physical help. It's about embodying the message of the gospel. When people see the church stepping up, showing love in action, it speaks louder than words ever could. Think of volunteers helping families rebuild, offering meals, or even something as simple as listening to those affected. Each act of service echoes Jesus' teachings, showing the world that faith is active and transformative. Through these moments, the church becomes a living example of resilience and love, a reminder that hope is never lost, even in the darkest of times. What's powerful about the church's role is its ability to unite people from all walks of life. In the face of disasters, the divisions that often separate us become less significant. The church stands as a unifying force, a place where people can find community and comfort regardless of their background. When faced with calamities, this unity becomes a testimony in itself, showing that there's strength in togetherness. It's a quiet but profound message to the world that in God's family, no one faces the storm alone. More than just a building, the church embodies hope that reaches beyond the immediate crisis. When people see the church's presence during difficult times, it becomes a reminder that there is something bigger than the tragedy at hand. It calls everyone to be more compassionate, to be lights in their own ways, extending the message of hope beyond the walls of the church. Through each effort, the church not only meets practical needs but also touches hearts, planting seeds of faith and encouragement that continue to grow long after the storm has passed. During times of crisis, like the aftermath of Hurricane Milton, the unity and service displayed by the church become a powerful testimony of faith in action. When people witness Christians coming together, offering help, and showing compassion, it resonates deeply. Just as Jesus lived a life marked by acts of love, the church, too, becomes a living testament of this love. Imagine a group of volunteers clearing debris, helping neighbors rebuild, or comforting those in grief. Each act speaks louder than words, reflecting a faith that moves beyond sermons and into practical, life-changing support. Unity in these moments isn't just about working together. It's about embodying the spirit of Christ's message. When the church unites to serve, it sends a profound message that the love of God knows no boundaries. Think about it. People from different backgrounds and beliefs working side by side, united by compassion. It's a glimpse of the world as it could be, one where divisions fade in the face of shared humanity. This unity becomes a powerful testimony to everyone watching, showing that faith brings people together for a purpose greater than themselves. Service, in this light, becomes more than charity. It's a calling, a way to live out the gospel. In times of need, the smallest acts of kindness can have a profound impact. When church members extend a helping hand, offer meals, or even lend a listening ear, they're showing the heart of Christ to those who may be experiencing hardship for the first time. These moments reveal that true Christian testimony isn't just in words, but in the visible, tangible ways that love and faith are expressed. This unity and service don't just provide immediate relief. They plant seeds of hope for the future. As communities come together to rebuild, the church's role becomes a lasting testimony of resilience, showing that faith doesn't fade with adversity, it shines brighter. Each act of compassion encourages others to pay it forward, creating a ripple effect of kindness and solidarity. And for those who may not share the same beliefs, these actions leave a lasting impression, inviting them to see the church not just as a place, but as a community of true, enduring love. As we reflect on Hurricane Milton and the prophetic words in the book of Revelation, one question lingers. Are we truly prepared for what lies ahead? If these signs are indeed reminders, how will we respond? This isn't just about survival. It's a call to strengthen our inner lives, to seek meaning, and to build resilience not just in our homes but in our hearts. Imagine what might change if we each took a step to prepare, to strengthen our faith, and to connect with others. What steps will you take? Will you choose to reflect, to reach out, or to look deeper into the messages left for us in Scripture? Perhaps these events are more than just tragedies. They're invitations to embrace a greater purpose. Let these reflections be a starting point to ask the hard questions and to seek answers that ground you, even in the most uncertain times. And if this exploration has inspired you, don't miss out on future insights. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue diving into these profound topics. Together, let's discover how to navigate these times with wisdom, strength, and hope.